What is up, y'all? Kevin Kuhn here from Athlete Factors. This is the Athlete Factors podcast. My guest today is a return guest, Mr. David Accardo. How we doing, sir?
Doing well. How about y'all?
Not too bad. Hanging in there. It's slowly starting to feel a little bit more like fall in Texas. It's not 100,000 degrees out. Maybe 80s and 90s. So I think we're making some progress on the weather there. Oh, I think we lost you. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we are. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. So you're outside.
Yeah. Again, just like you said, this is one of the nicer days we've had in the past 3-4 months. So I figured I'd get a little vitamin D while we talk about it.
Excellent. I like that. So would you say that your office is mostly outside nowadays?
It is almost 100% outside now. Yeah, I am from my workouts to building to shipping, I am in the sun more than half the day now.
Awesome. Well, that's excellent. So the reason you're back really is to give us some pretty cool updates on some projects you've been working on, and so take it away. Tell us kind of how things have changed since you were last on, and how things are progressing and changing going forward.
Well, we talked I guess it was in February last time we had the podcast interview. And at that point, I was a high school strength and conditioning coach at a really awesome place here in Friendswood, Texas. Since then, I've actually resigned from that position. And that position actually changed now for the new guy that now has a position. I hope he does really well with it. I have since started a new small business from my home to kind of curb off some of the things that I was seeing as a trend in the United States with COVID and the quarantine and all the things going on. There were my first week after resigning, I realized that I didn't have a place to work out, and my house was where it's going to have to be happening. So I started thinking about ways to build what I was used to using for my workouts, which is like a power rack, safety bars, platforms, things like that. So I went to Home Depot and built a whole bunch of things that I thought would be fun for me to use personally, and kind of posted some things on Instagram of me building it. And a whole bunch of my friends and people that were following me were like, dude, that's awesome. How did you do that? So I kind of put some stuff together, and I realized I need some plates. I can't just squat with a 25-pound axle bar that I made myself. So I needed to figure something out. So in the process, I kind of borrowed some stuff from the high school, some of the coaches let me borrow, and I obviously gave those back since then. But I decided to make some plates out of concrete because I've been making Atlas stones for a decade plus now out of concrete with some plastic molds that I made. So I carved one out of some brittle foam, poured the concrete into it, and it came out ugly and strong, just like me. But again, I had a lot of pickup from Instagram of posts that I was putting up of how that people were excited to see that I made my own weights for pretty much a 80-pound bag of concrete's $5. So I can get a 45, a 25, and a 10-pound plate out of $5 when you're paying almost $5 a pound right now for plates. With that excitement, I realized that I couldn't just give my friends a one-time use mold that would break out as soon as you made it once. So I was trying to figure out how to make kind of like the Atlas stone molds that I have out of an ABS or a PLA plastic. How do I make a mold that's reusable 2,000 times if you want to make that many plates? And with that, I talked to a fabricator here in town that does nothing but vacuum forming, and he was like, "This is an awesome idea. Let's do it." So I got a bunch of plastic, talked to him about how to make the mold and the form. I created my own form here in my garage of a really, really tall, deep bucket plate that would hold at least 100 pounds of concrete. And then I made a smaller one for change plates. So went into production, got the first run of them just to see how things were going. I wasn't intending on making a huge $1 million off my first run. I just want to see what the temperature was. So I put it on sale on a quick little easy website through Shopify, and they sold way quicker than I was expecting. I mean, and I got picked up by a couple of smaller garage gym sites and pages that reposted my the things that I've been making, and people were wanting PDFs and how-tos and instructions on how everything that I built. So I was like, I need to start getting on my computer. So I I pretty much in 3 nights time typed out a 20-page how I built it DIY packet for people to download from my site for, I think, for $10, $15, what it was, and that paid off everything that I paid for my website. So it became like this. Oh, this is a viable option. And I'm a tenth of the cost of any production plates you can get right now, as far as buying. But if you bought both my molds and a few sets of refill kits, you're pretty much still under the price of buying 200-pound plates from Rogue right now. Which I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but like that, they just came out with their newest steel plates, and I think it's like, to get from Ohio at their facility to my house, it was $480 plus shipping to get two steel 100-pound plates. And I with that same price, I could probably make close to 2,000 pounds of concrete plates for multiple people. So it's a very viable. Obviously, they're not as pretty. They're not, obviously, concrete's not near as strong as bumpers or steel, but it is a viable option. I mean, I still have my very first set I made in March, April time. I made my first set, and I've been beating the hell out of them. I mean, I've deadlifts, pendlay rows, every ground contact, squats, bench, all the non-contact as well. But they're holding up well. And I mean, I do put weight. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I do put pretty good weight on the bar, and they're making ground contact, and they're handling it. And it's been interesting, because that's the main concern of most people that see it at first. That, oh, well, as soon as I drop it and slam it from overhead snatch position, it's going to explode. I was like, well, yeah, it's a Band-Aid. It's a fix. It's not a permanent possibility, unless you truly want it to be and you're careful with it. I mean, I'm never one to really drop or slam my bar and yell, grunt, and scream after a set. I don't think it's necessary to slam a bar in any case. I mean, steel plates will crack and shatter if you slam them hard enough.
For sure.
But it's been interesting to see the community growing around a possible way to fix a problem we didn't have before, which was not enough weights in the United States. So it's been really fun to build this group of people that are not only interested but now excited about buying this thing and building it themselves. There's a little bit of pride in making something yourself and it working well after you're done. I still get jacked every time I make a set for someone in my neighborhood or someone in the Houston area that wants a set of plates but doesn't want to buy the mold. I'm pennies on the pound. I'm making them for them, and that the sound it makes when it comes out of the mold is like the shook noise when it falls out. And you open it, you see like how good of a job you did, right? It's like almost like opening a gift every time you do it. But yeah, it's been fun to experiment and experience each new barrier and obstacle and situation of being a new business owner, a small business owner, and putting something out there that's affordable and fairly, I wouldn't say easy to use, but very simple to use to make your own set of weights at home for pennies on the dollar, cheaper than what you can get right now.
Yeah, I think the whole Corona thing hit everybody, like a suitcase full of bricks. And everybody started buying up exercise equipment. Like overnight, it was gone. I mean, I went to sporting goods stores just to see, and you could get like 1 pound dumbbells, and that was it. Literally that was all. Everything was gone. And luckily I didn't need any of that stuff. But when I had to shut my office down, I was still trying to do as much as I could for my clients via like FaceTime or Skype, where we were still able to get some work done, to do some sort of training, but I was limited to what they had, available at their house. And most of them had, some dumbbells, maybe a kettlebell or two, a couple things here and there. And so I just had to figure that out as we went. And a lot of them were trying to get more more equipment. They were trying to get um, more stuff to use, but it was just like you couldn't find it. And
Yeah.
then if you did find it, the price was jacked up. Like you're gonna pay, normally I think they say, at least for used equipment, if you're spending about $1 a pound, like you're
Yeah.
probably doing pretty good. Um, you're like $10 per pound, maybe. I mean, like it was through the roof expensive. And that hasn't really changed, I don't think. Like it's still
It's gotten a bit better because companies like, I know that Rogue for sure has started a almost like a thief program. They have an algorithm that keeps that they've realized that someone's bought thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of something, and they won't allow them to buy on every other round or whatever it is. They'll actually get sent an email saying, "Hey, you have been found to be a reseller and a gouger or a
mm,
scalper or whatever," and it
mm-hmm,
won't allow them to pay for whatever they were trying to buy in their cart. So that's a small step towards a good way to go about it, but
mm-hmm,
it's going to be hard to stop someone from, in a capitalist society, buying something and selling it for double, triple, quadruple what it's actually worth right now. Because
yep,
if someone buys it, it's worth that much. So it's been interesting to, and also on that same side, I'm also fighting that as well because someone sees the price of my plastic mold
there.
and tries to compare it to a Home Depot plastic bucket. And I'm
Mm,
like, well, yeah, you can definitely do this for even cheaper than I'm helping, but it's mine is going to help you make it look good while you're using it. So there is a little bit of vanity in it, but that
mm-hmm,
same thing, I'm not gouging. I'm making a minimal profit, but again, this was more of a fun experiment to try out, not a $1 million idea I'm trying to become super rich off of. So um,
mm-hmm,
it's I've been fighting that battle on a very small scale with commenters, and there's always gonna be internet trolls on everything you do, no matter how honest you are.
for
But
sure.
it's been interesting to give facts and to fight that negativity with the high road of factual evidence of what I'm doing and what it takes to get it out there to people, and that
Mm-hmm,
I'm covering shipping for domestic United States customers as well. So that adds into the cost as well for each mold. Um,
mm-hmm,
but yeah, it's the gougers and the resellers has really been the, obviously, and again, it's a capitalist society, can't really get mad at them for that, but that's what really has caused a problem in the drought of equipment right now, is that everyone's buying it and then going to sell it on letgo or
eBay or
Craigslist,
yep,
eBay, and
yep,
then make someone else pay triple what they would have gotten if they just stood in line and did it their first time with the company. So
mm-hmm,
um, that's truly where this came about, because it was killing me to see I get personal training friends here in town that couldn't work and weren't allowed to go to their customers and their clients' houses to work with
mm-hmm,
them one on one. That for that, I had one friend that was buying equipment and then just giving it to his clients so that they could work out at their houses, much like you were saying, using Skype and using Zoom and chats and things to do group workouts. But
mm-hmm,
these people didn't have equipment; they couldn't find it, so they were buying it themselves just to take on that debt for their customers and their clients.
mm-hmm,
It was really like hurting me to see that. So that's where this idea kind of came from. I love to make things. I love to build and create, and to bring that hobby into this business venue as my new job. Honestly, my new career path has
mm-hmm,
been really fun and really fulfilling to find that new center of what I'm here for. So
mm-hmm. So, when I first saw these plates, I was like, man, how, like I'm thinking of a concrete like cinder block, right? Like you drop that and it's sand, right? So I'm
yeah.
like thinking like how are these going to work? How are they going to maintain their shape and not break, not crumble, not crack? Like, so talk us through um I guess your train of thought into thinking that this would work.
Well, just like in actual production plates, you can buy the cheap Walmart cast iron that is more of a brittle steel, And if you drop a 10-pound plate that you buy from Dick's Sporting Goods on concrete on its side, it'll shatter. It'll send shards everywhere. I've seen it happen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if you buy a milled down mil spec steel billet plate that has been carved out on a CNC, those plates will last longer because of the structure of the steel. Now with concrete, obviously not to that level extent of strength, but there with different PSIs and higher strength concretes, they can handle more. So the paver that you see at Home Depot, that cinder block or that block of concrete that you walk on for your backyard garden,
Mm-hmm.
that is a quick dry, get it done, 30 minutes till it's cured concrete. It is a brittle just to have something in stock in bulk. That is the cast iron small Walmart plate, if you will.
Okay.
The concrete on your highway, on your overpass, is
Mm-hmm.
a generated a scientifically mixed concrete with a much higher PSI to handle 18 wheelers and F-150s and things like that, to handle that pressure, that compression force on it. The concrete you can buy at a Home Depot has obviously not to the extent of what you can get from a contractor grade, but they have differing PSI levels.
Mm-hmm.
I tell every customer that buys from me to get at least 5,000 PSI concrete, which is a higher grade, a little more expensive. It's like $5.85, I think. Expensive is a relative term, but you'll pay for 80 pounds of it for like, I think $5 to $6. But it has 5,000 or higher PSI in it, and it's able to handle more compression, more contact against the ground. With my molds, I sell each refill kit. I sell a 1 ounce of what's called FRC, or fiber reinforcement for concrete, and they're little 3/4 inch fibers that get mixed into your concrete mix as you're putting water in to get the consistency you want, and it creates this crazy cool, like almost like lattice work across the concrete mixture. And as it cures, those little fibers crisscross and they make a more even strength through. So
Mm-hmm.
in your driveway, you'll have what's called rebar, steel beams going across your concrete, that if there ever is a failure or a crack through the whole thing, those steel, which are better, the steel rebar is actually for tensile strength. If there is a shearing force or a pull force on it that causes the crack, it'll actually hold on to the concrete. There will be a crack in it, but it won't let it go and won't split apart. The fibers do the same thing, but not in just one spot that the rebar would be inside the concrete plate. They do it all across the mix. I tell people, if they feel like they're mentally safer with a piece of rebar inside it, to bend it into a circle and toss it in there as they're making them.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't. I only have I think my 2 100-pound plates have steel rebar in them. But as I guess a research scientist background, I wanted to see how far I could push these things with both just the fibers and then no fibers at all. If someone didn't want to buy any more fibers from me, how far could I push 5,000 PSI concrete? And
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only had one crack on me so far in 7 months now, I guess we're in.
Wow.
And it was a thin 5-pound plate that I was just trying to see how far I could push the skinny ones. And
Mm-hmm.
and it was with no fibers, no rebar, no wire, nothing. And it lasted a good long while, and it broke because my 6-year-old son threw it like a frisbee. And so obviously a mistreated plate will not last as long, but he was brokenhearted that he broke it, but it wasn't even not a big deal, obviously, because I could make another one the next day.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the point that I've been getting across to people is, yeah, it's concrete. If you're in an overhead position and standing up from a snatch and you throw it down against the concrete, there's not many weights that are in production that can handle that, as far as bare steel, cast iron, or obviously concrete.
Mm-hmm.
That's what bumpers are for. If that's what you have to do in your workout, you want 0 eccentrics in your workout and you need to slam weights every rep, then
Mm-hmm.
go get you some bumpers. But with these, I mean, like I said earlier, I don't slam my weights on every deadlift, no matter what portion of my workout I'm in. I set the bar back down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've purposely tried to drop them from my waist and normal wear and tear, but I mean, I've always been like, if you take care of your equipment takes care of you. So
Yeah.
I don't really truly slam my weights on purpose, unless with these now I'm trying to see how much further I can go before having to make another one. But they've proven worthy, so I'm kind of getting away from that, going back to my normal of time under tension and going back down with the bar and putting it back on the ground soundly. So
Yeah, I've never understood why people are so. I guess it's cool to drop your plates. Like I've just never, even even in grad school when we were doing a lot of uh, deadlifting or Olympic lifting, like we were using nice bumper plates. Like we weren't really dropping them. Like uh, it's just, hey, if you're gonna train the eccentric or the concentric portion, why would you avoid the eccentric portion? Like, um, it's just one of those things. But a lot of people only want to train that concentric. So you're missing out on a lot. So
yeah, Mark Griffin
uh,
talks about using steel plates because all of his starting strength gyms use bare steel, cast iron, or billet plates. And he put a video out. I guess it was in June or July. People were griping about how do you not drop plates, and he was cussing. I'm not going to say that here, obviously, but he was cussing on his video he made. He was like, "You clean it, you re-rack it to your waist, and you set the bar down. Like effing this, and like just set the bar back down." Like, I was like, I wish in my mind, I'm not going to cuss at the people that are following me because 99% of them are on board with doing it the right way. But I was like, I would love to repost this video and be like, that's how you handle steel plates. You should probably do it with concrete plates too, you know. But anyway, yeah, that's the slamming and the broing out of screaming and yelling, not really necessary on a normal training day, a max out day, a max effort day, competition day. I mean,
Yep.
going overseas and picking up a stone you've been training for 6 months, like that's a day
You can drop that.
to drop the juice, you know. So, but a random Wednesday that you're going to 65%, I don't think is necessary to sniff salts and beat my chest before a rep. So
Get slapped a couple times and yeah. That's too funny. But yeah, that's one of those things. With these concrete plates, if you do drop them and they do crack, like what's the overhead to replace that? It's
well,
it's not a big deal, right?
yeah, you get to reuse the center sleeve that I sell, and then you buy $5 more worth of concrete, mix it, pour it, and the pipe will be the right height. You just fill it back up to that height, and 2 days later you have a plate again. Like it's almost faster than Amazon shipping, you know.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, it's a win-win for both sides. That I get to I'm right at 300 sales right now on this. We were doing some math to see where we were at financially, and I'm right at 300 sales, and I've gone to almost I think 40 out of the 50 states so far, and numerous countries. I got an awesome soldier in Guam that's making a bunch of sets of plates right now down there in that small island, and she's been posting every day of the process. It's been fun to see how excited the people are getting to make their own weights and post about it and talk about how they're going to paint it. And I got a guy doing black, brown, and green camo with orange letters on it up in Oklahoma, and it's been a fun to see the creativity of how people are going about it.
So that like I'm looking at your website right now, and it's the front page. It's super cool just because it's got your wooden power rack and the plates that you have on there. It's the gray of the concrete, but then it's like a dark, maybe black, or it's like a dark color with for the lettering and the numbering and the outside edge. Like they look super slick. They look legit. I mean, they look amazing. So it's nice that people have that ability. They can fancy them up. You're not going to do that with cast iron plates, but you can do that with these, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, I've been working on trying different creative ways of making them. I've found a company that does it's called Concrete Tint. It's like a powder that you mix into the water before you put the water in the concrete, and they have a full rainbow of colors. And me being in the strength and conditioning background, using mil spec bumpers for so many years, having red 55s, blue 45s, green, yellow, white, all the bumper colors for both kilograms and pounds. I now have blue 45s on my rack, green 25s, and I'm working on some red 55s this coming week, just to show people that you don't have to just make it ugly and strong like previously. You
Mm-hmm.
try something new, you know. So, and
Yeah.
obviously just spray paint. I have people doing truck bed liner, spraying to make them a little bit stronger against
Mm-hmm.
contact. Plasti dip has been used by some guys that they want to make it a little more rubbery to say that it's more like a bumper.
Yeah. I was
But
gonna
yeah,
ask, like, could you coat the plate when you're done? Like, you dip it in rubber or something?
the plastic dip makes a gallon jug that you can pour into a basin and dip things in. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen anybody dip any of the plates yet because obviously holding a 45-pound plate and dip it into a bucket of liquid might be pretty tough. But
Mm-hmm.
I've seen like the spray on bed liner and the spray on plastic dip and I guess the flex dip or whatever it's called. That's more of a
Mm-hmm.
rubbery substance.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those have been used. The truck bed liner supposedly will last a little bit longer, a lot longer. It contacts and sticks to the concrete a little better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, they come out looking really cool. I have a customer in Arizona who bought the molds from me and is now making plates for like his entire area and neighborhood. And
Wow.
he makes them, lets them cure for 7 to 12 days, and then we'll spray them down with bed liner, and they come out looking really cool. I'm actually thinking about making a couple just to spray them with bed liner to see how they look in person because in pictures they look amazing. So
Mm-hmm. So here's a question that I was thinking about. How do you guarantee that it's going to weigh 20 kilos or 45 pounds? Like, how do you ensure that that it's going to come out to 100 pounds if you want a 100-pound plate?
So when concrete is mixed with water, the water creates a chemical reaction that hardens it and cures it into the hardened state from a powder. That water, like 90% of it, does dissipate with time. So if you were to take 80 pounds of dry concrete, mix it with a gallon of water, which is about 6 to 8 pounds, it will become back down to close to 80, 81 pounds total. So I tell people to either get a Home Depot plastic bucket, fill it up with the weight they want. So if they want 45-pound plates, put it up to 45 pounds of dry mix, then mix that with water and then put it into the mold after that.
Mm-hmm.
Or mix it with water, weigh it, and go about a pound or two heavier with a ratio. So say you have 50 pounds of concrete, that's like a Quikrete 5000. That takes about 3/4 of a gallon of water. So it's about 5, 6 pounds. So 50 pounds of concrete will be about 55, 56 pounds total. So every 10 pounds, it's about 1 pound of water. So if you're making a
Mm-hmm.
10-pound plate, you pour it to 11 and a half pounds of wet concrete into the mold, let it cure, pop it out, and then you have a little bit of room to sand and then flatten the back of it and edge off that sharp corner that might happen and
Mm-hmm.
make it more comfortable to hold, and then get it down almost like you would a calibrated plate. So when you do a cast iron calibrated plate, you pour it, you take it off, you put it on a lathe, weigh it, and then you shave off a little bit at a time to get down to almost within a quarter pound of what you want a 45 to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you went to your weight room right now and put a weight on a scale, it's going to be within 2, maybe 3 pounds over or below. So it could be a 47 on one side and a 43 on the other. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that being said, you can get pretty darn close by comparison with concrete doing it yourself because it's all up to you on how much weight you put inside the mold.
Gotcha. 'Cause, yeah, I was thinking about that, and I'm like, man, I wonder if you're putting the mold on top of a scale and then pouring the concrete in until you get to a certain level or whatever. But it makes sense, kind of what you're saying, where if most of that water is kind of evaporating, then essentially what you start out with is going to be really close to what you finish. So.
I've had people that so it's called, I guess it's called a live scale where it doesn't stop and give you a certain number after it beeps 3 times or whatever. If you have a
Mm-hmm.
live digital or a live analog scale, you can set the bucket on it, put it back to zero, and then once you load in the concrete, it gives you the exact weight it needs to be at the end. I
Mm-hmm.
personally don't have a live scale. I have a fat man body weight scale. I'll load the bucket up, put it on, let it beep. It tells me, hey, you're at 37. Put 5 more pounds. Oh, you're at 42. 5 more pounds. Oh, I'm a little heavy. Put it back 46, and then I'll load it after that. And then I know that it's about 46 pounds of concrete for my 45. And then once it
Gotcha.
dries, cures, it should be close to 45 pounds, if not a little bit over.
Nice. Well, that's pretty awesome. Well, it's not a complicated process. I mean, it sounds pretty simple. So, um, talk us through, like, somebody wants to make their own plates, so they go to your website. Right now they got a pre-order, right? Because everything's backed up because this is a service. This is a product that everybody wants right now, which is awesome.
I wouldn't say everybody, but there's quite a few that are interested right now. If it was everybody, I would have to hire some folks. But
well, hopefully we get a couple more sent your way.
that'd be awesome.
So they order the molds from you. They get those shipped in. They get the molds. After they get those, just talk us fairly quickly through the process from start to finish.
So we have so I have two different size molds. I have a medium mold and a large mold. The large mold is 17.5 inches in diameter, like a normal Olympic plate would be. And then I have a smaller, or what we call a change plate, which would be about 12.5 inches in diameter. The large mold can make plates from 25 up to 100 pounds, and the smaller mold can make 5 pound up to about 35 pounds. It gets a little thick at 35 pounds, so you won't be able to fit as many plates in the bar. But that's if someone needs to just buy one mold, they can use the small one and get almost all the plates they need. With those two molds, have them set aside. You use either hot glue or silicone caulk to put the center sleeve in. The center sleeve stays in the concrete, so it actually creates a barrier, just like you would on a normal plate or a bumper plate, which would have the rubber coating, and there'd be that center metal sleeve that slides onto the bar collar. That's what the pipes that I sell do. It creates a buffer between the contact between the bar and the concrete. That being said, a lot of people are like, I don't want to mess up and scratch up my bar because of these things, which is hilarious to me because a scratch bar is just as heavy as a pristine, beautiful bar. I'm in the world of loving people and using things, not loving things and using people, but that's besides the point. Sorry, get off my soapbox on that. Adhesiving in the center sleeve, I've used hot glue. I've used silicone caulk. I ran out of hot glue a while back, and I used duct tape on the inside and kind of rolled it over and used it as a gasket seal, and it worked really well. I was surprised. So I mean, there's multiple ways to get it to stick in there, but all that's doing is creating a seal so the concrete doesn't seep up under the pipe and into that center cavity. Because A, it'll take weight off of what you're pouring in, and then B, it's a mess to try and clean all that up. So once you have that adhesive, either the hot glue is cured or the silicone is cured in, mixing the concrete up by whatever directions are on the bag that you're using. It could be a 3/4 of a gallon of water or 2.5 gallons of water, depending on the concrete you buy, to mix in. Mix it, get the weight that you're looking for, pour it in. I use an old back massager I got from a CVS like 10 years ago when I was making Atlas stones, because when you agitate the bucket, it helps bubbles rise through. It makes the bubbles get out, so there's less air pockets, so actually the concrete gets lower, makes it a thinner plate. And then also it helps those bubbles get off the face of the plate and off the sides of the plate, which will make a more smooth, more pretty finish. The longer you vibrate, the more bubbles get off, and it looks better. It's more of a vanity thing than anything. It doesn't make it perform any better, but it does look a lot better, easier to paint as well. Agitating, I don't agitate too much, because if you agitate, it actually separates the water from the mix and doesn't cure as well. But yeah, once you get it to where you're not seeing as many bubbles, you're done. You cover it, let it sit for 2 to 5 days. If you're really impatient, 1 to 2 days, and then popping it out, covering it so it cures longer. The biggest fault in making concrete things is not letting it cure long enough. You can go as deep into the engineer side of things as filling a bucket with water and submerging the plate into water for 7 days. It's called wet curing, which makes it uber freaking strong, which I haven't done yet with any of mine, and they last a really long time. I'm looking into trying that, just because I didn't really hear about it until about 5 months ago, after I made my first set. And it sounds like a cool process for Atlas stones and for plates. So I'm probably gonna start doing that when I make Atlas stones for people. And once you cure it, you let it dry out in the air and paint the face however you want to, put the number of how much it weighs. If it needs to come down in weight, you can sand or grind the back edge and get the pipe down to center, and then you're ready to use it. It's like I said, it's not an easy process, but it's a really simple process. You're not spending the money because you're spending the time. So for me, it's a fun process. Again, I love to build stuff, and I love to see the end product of my broken finger labor, So it's been fun to see other people get that same excitement out of that, again, simple but not easy process.
Gotcha. So you've started out with plates, and are you planning on in the future expanding that to other projects? Like, are you planning on like with your power rack, like that thing, it's almost entirely made out of wood and some metal pieces. Are you going to put together a little DIY about how to make some nice power racks?
So the DIY instructions for the power rack are actually on the website already. That was the first thing I actually did before I got into the sale of the plates and the molds.
Mm,
Um, the It's a 20-page, fairly in-depth, poorly written by a strength coach, not an author or an editor. Um, Instructions on how I did it, and there's different choices and different, like, if you want to go more easier, which is a little simpler and quicker to do on the joints. I've been a woodworker and I guess I'm a maker for many years, so I love doing different types of joinery and half lap joints and things. So my rack actually has a half lap joint, so it's cut to where it kind of fits. Each joint is L bracketed in to fit kind of like that.
mm-hmm,
Um, that's in the instructions. You don't have to go that deep into it. You can do a simple butt joint with some strong ties and things like that I have in the instructions. But it's pretty much you're making a box that has holes in it that holds bars,
mm-hmm,
and it's fairly straightforward. If in my head to build a square 90-degree two 90-degree rectangles and put them together with cross ties. But it's been pretty interesting to hear, like, people, the insights, I guess, that are in the instructions that they wouldn't have thought of at first to make it easier in the process. Like, I put close to 200 holes in this thing with all my the adjustments that I have for all the accessories that I have in the future that I'm going to be making for it. And there's some back here I'm trying not to let you see.
cover it
about
up.
Yeah, about to drop
Secret.
some pretty cool stuff here in the next couple of weeks, but I'm excited about. But yeah,
Nice.
the 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 build process is on the website, and it's been good. I know that I have a guy in New Zealand that now has a rack that looks almost like mine. He found me on Google by accident. He doesn't have an Instagram or anything, so I asked him to email me some pictures, but he said his phone doesn't take pictures. So I may never get to see it, but he said via email that it looks just like mine, and he's really excited about it. So I mean, on the other hemisphere, on the other side of the world, a guy has a rack that looks like mine because the internet helped him find it. And I thought that was pretty awesome. Um,
Yeah, that's
but
really
yeah,
cool.
we got a bunch of people that have bought the plans already and have built things like it. One guy asked me if the plans were changeable. I'm like, yeah, everything that I sell is modifiable. So
Hmm.
he had a 7 foot tall garage that he was going to make into a gym. So my rack is 8.5 feet tall, and he dropped down the height of it and made it a little less deep so that he could park his car in front of it when it was rained outside. So
Mm,
it's a modifiable plan. It's more of a general ideas and what I did specifically, and
hmm.
then how you can option to do different things with it. So
Well, it's pretty cool, man. When I saw it, I was like, it's not just, a wooden frame. Like, you've got all kinds of accessories coming off of it. You can do literally everything that you could do with a top of the line, steel power rack, which is pretty awesome.
well,
I
I've
even
been
saw your reverse hyper set up the other day, and I'm like, man, this you're doing everything, man. This is so cool.
yeah, I've been blessed enough to work at three different really well outfitted university weight rooms, a minor league baseball team, and then a fairly good high school program as well with a nice weight room. And I've been able to use equipment from those weight rooms that has been top of the line as well.
Mm,
With that being said, I don't like to build things half-assed, so no way to
hmm.
say it. But I'm a big man, and if I don't build it strong, it's going to break.
Yeah.
I don't trust plastic lawn furniture, so I'm not going to trust something that's not built strong enough to hold against a hurricane. So
Oh yeah.
um, everything I build is going to be strong enough for me to handle, so that I know if anyone else comes over to my house to work out on it, that I can trust that they can't hurt themselves if it breaks. So because it's not going to break.
Hmm.
The reverse hyper came about because obviously buying a reverse hyper right now is a 4-digit expense.
Hmm.
Um, Rogue just came out with a foldable hyper about 2 weeks after. I guess they were working on it before that. Obviously, production takes time, but they just came out with a foldable lean against the wall hyper that they have now. That Westside used to sell back in the '90s that didn't do very well, but they brought it back into production because it was an easy fix for a problem they had to sell, and they sold out in like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Mine actually is a little bit different than that, as it is what's called a drop-in attachment. There's no locks, no keys. It sets into one side and then falls in, and it holds itself in by gravity and pressure. So it's actually a step even more minimalist than the foldable West Side Rogue rack or hyper that they have. I'm hoping somebody in the production side of weight rooms does that, because it's been awesome to have, and just take it up and put it against the wall, and it's out of the way. Because the Rogue West Side reverse hyper has I think 3.5 foot by 4 or 5 foot footprint, and it's for a few exercises. You can do a bunch of exercises with it, but it's a swinging weight arm for 15 feet of space taken out of your weight room. So that was a fun little addition that I don't want to say came up with. I used other, like, there's an awesome dude up in Idaho that I've been talking with about. He made a wooden, like, to spec, the exact same thing that Rogue has. He made it out of wood and steel pipe like I do, and it looked beautiful. He did a great job. So I kind of used his top half and then added in my drop-in attachment side of it, and I gave him as much credit as I could on Instagram. Like, hey, check this dude out. He's a mad builder. He loves powerlifting. He knows his stuff, but he's also a really good videographer too. He's got some awesome YouTube videos out there. But yeah, the attachments and the customizability of having your own rack that you built yourself is almost better than what you can pay for, because if you have an idea, you get to try it for cheap. And if it doesn't work, you get to change it. So, I mean, my jammer arms that I have on the top of my rack, that has been oh my gosh, I never thought of that by people. So Titan sells a hinge that you can buy to add arms to. And I've had a couple people make the wooden arms and use the Titan hinge for the top of their racks. So they have this nice steel rack with the steel hinges, and then there's a wooden arm hanging off of it now. So the ideas are spreading, which is more exciting for me than any sales that I'm making with the stuff that I have. That, like, people are figuring out that using your hands and your time and your effort is more fulfilling than just paying for it and waiting 6 months for the backlog, you know? And that, I think we've kind of lost that as a society, that we're so used to Amazon next day shipping and being able to pay for something and having it get here from the other side of the nation within 2 days, that we don't try to make it ourselves because the time doesn't seem worth it. But in my head, I'm like, I get to spend time building something and then learn from it and cultivate a new knowledge, a new skill while building it. I would trust someone that can build something with their hands in the apocalypse before I go trust someone that has a big wallet, you know?
For sure.
If you're able, you should be willing. And I that's my biggest barometer for people is, if you're able but you're unwilling, that's not a good thing to be. If you're willing but unable, you can still try and learn that ability. So that's been really fun to see people learning how to make something. I've had a bunch of people that have been second guessing buying the molds because I never worked with concrete before. I was like, have you ever made a cake before? Because, like, it's flour, water, and egg. Like, that's literally what concrete is. It is a powder mixed with water, and then you get to the right consistency, put it in the oven, let it cook for 2 days. You know, like, and that's what's fun. Like, a bunch of people are calling the weights biscuits these days, because it's literally like you're waiting for the oven to finish while you're cooking biscuits. You know, so it's been fun. So
yeah, probably don't taste quite as good, but
yeah, respirators are necessary.
That's awesome. So you know what, we haven't even mentioned the name of the company, the brand. So let's talk a little bit about that. How can people find you online? How can they follow you on Instagram?
So the company's name is Stix and Stone, STIX and Stone, just one stone, not multiple. On Instagram, it's that same thing, Stix and Stone, but it's Stix _and_stone_. On my website, same thing, Stix and Stone with a dash in between, so Stix-and-stone.com. Try to keep it pretty straightforward. It's a funny way to spell Stix, but it helped me kind of find the niche of GoDaddy and all the website buyers
Mm-hmm.
to have that. So yeah, it's like I said, it's simple, straightforward. I feel kind of weird selling and pushing the website because like if you find me, great, but it's more word of mouth than anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to create, like I said, I'm not trying to create this into a multi-million-dollar project. It's a fun thing that I can do in between playing with my kids and going on walks and getting a lift in myself. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's the Stix and Stone is the company, and they are the DA plate molds. So
DA, where'd that come from?
well, a little known fact about the guy you're talking to. I used to be really into digital graphics and design, like to drawing and sketching and like almost into cartoonish things. My goal was to become a designer for Pixar.
Mm.
But when going into college football and going on my visits, I realized sleep, digital graphics and design, and football, you couldn't really have all three.
Mm-hmm.
So went to my second love, building bodies and lifting and exercise. Got into kinesiology, and all through again to revert back what the DA means. My artist signature used to be my first two, my initials, D and A, David Accardo,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of went through everything that I kind of did. My signature, my football signature when I had an autograph as an athlete when not worth made the paper worth less when I signed it, but I the DA kind of followed with me through that stuff, and now that I've married a beautiful woman that's more intelligent than I am, Amanda, D and A is now David and Amanda. This project came about because she said let's do it, and then I mean the website and everything. Like me and my wife are the two people working on this project. This is
Mm-hmm.
it's a fun, like after the kids go to bed, we sit down, we talk about finances and what's happening next and what our next steps are for what supplies we need, how the shipment's looking, if there's any problems or situations we need to fix. She's been a huge motivator in me actually stepping forward and trying this project, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why there's not going to be anything I make in this company that doesn't have that logo on it, because it's because of her and her pushing me to keep going and trying new things that this actually has happened and has been so fun in the process.
That's really awesome, man. That kind of partnership has just got to be just really rewarding. That's
For
really
sure.
cool. And it looks really slick on the plates. So
well, thanks.
it looks good. So, but yeah, so if anybody has any questions, can they just reach out to you on Instagram, or what's the best way to get in contact with you?
DM me on Instagram. I check my unanswered requests a couple hours a day. If you need to direct email me, david.stixandstone@gmail.com. Yeah, reach out. I'm more than happy to answer questions, comments, concerns. I'm always down to teach and help and wherever I can. If it's with the plates, if it's building your own thing, I have people sending me pictures of their own DIY projects now because that's kind of what I'm into. And
Yeah.
I actually today I had a guy send me his new belt squat that he made that he had a fabricator cut some holes in some tubing for him to make an addition on his power rack he has for a belt squat. I thought that was
Hmm.
pretty awesome. So he sent me pictures and kind of talked about how I would help him modify it for more exercises. But yeah, shoot me a message. I'm always down to talk.
That's awesome. Well, David, thank you so much. Like everybody needs to go check out your Instagram and just really see how versatile all this stuff is. It's super cool. And it's it's a nice project that just about everybody can do. And then, you've got the fruits of your labor right there. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to wait for it to get shipped to you. You're making it with your hands, which I think is really rewarding as well. So,
For sure.
but yeah, man, keep us posted on the new stuff as it drops, and I'll be sure to let everybody know. And but yeah, man, thank you again for coming back on and sharing
sure,
this
man.
with us. And yeah, everybody go check it out right now.
Awesome. Well, maybe next time we talk about training.
Hey, we can do that for sure. For sure. Why
Yeah,
not?
bring it on, dude.
Awesome. Alrighty, y'all. Thanks for watching and listening, and stay tuned.
Yes, sir.